From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Tonight, the president is off to Brussels for the ASUU summit, a few hours after writing the National Assembly for approval of 2.557 trillion naira for fuel subsidy. House of Representatives summons the SGF, Minister of Finance, Auditor General of the Federation, among others, for failing to honour earlier invitation. Police headquarters reacts to the arrest of DCP Abakiari, says it will not interfere in the NDLEA investigation since the officer is already suspended from the force. And President Vladimir Putin says Russia does not want war in Europe, but its security concerns must be addressed and taken seriously. Plus international news from our London studio.
On business news tonight, the federal government, European Union and United Nations Development Programme partner to launch Jubilee Fellows Fund to address youth unemployment in the country.
On sports news tonight, the federal government approves 25 million naira for the senior women's basketball team, the D Tigers, for winning the AfroBasket Women's Championship last year in Cameroon.
And from Abuja, as to legal fireworks in the $418 million Paris Club debt suit filed by the 36 states against the federal government, Federal High Court fixes March 25th for delivery of judgment.
Less than 2 months after he signed the 2022 budget into law, the president has written to the National Assembly seeking a review of the Appropriation Act passed by the federal legislature in December 2021 to accommodate an additional 2.557 trillion naira for petrol subsidy in 2022. President Muhammadu Buhari's request is contained in a letter dated February 10, 2022, and read during plenary by the Senate President Ahmed Lawan. He explained that his letter had become necessary because of the implications certain changes by lawmakers in the 2022 Appropriation Act could have for the successful implementation of the budget. Our correspondent Linda Kigwe reports.
President Buhari's request for the National Assembly to amend the 2022 budget comes as no surprise. When he was signing the budget to law on December 31st, 2021, President Buhari had said he would revert to the National Assembly with a request for an amendment. He gave several reasons for this, notably the new insertions, removals and increases in the amount allocated by the National Assembly to projects, as well as reduction of the provisions made for as many as 10,733 projects and the introduction of 6,576 new projects into the budget. During Tuesday's plenary session, the National Assembly receives a request from President Buhari to amend the 2022 Appropriation Act. In the letter read by Senate President Ahmed Lawan, President Buhari says it is imperative to remove all capital projects that were replicated in the 2022 Appropriation Act. He disclosed that 139 out of the 254 projects in the budget, totaling 13.24 billion naira, had been identified for deletion.
I therefore request the National Assembly to make the above amendments without increasing the budget deficit. I urge you to roll back some of the 887 billion. Some of the 887.99 billion naira of projects earlier inserted in the budget by the National Assembly to accommodate these amendments.
President Buhari is also requesting that an additional provision of 2.557 trillion naira be appropriated by the National Assembly to fund petrol subsidy in the 2022 budget framework.
Following the suspension of the PMS subsidy removal, the 2022 budget framework has been revised to fully provide for PMS subsidy. An additional provision of 2.557 trillion naira will be required to fund the petroleum subsidy in 2022.
According to the president, the total budget deficit is projected to increase by 1.01 trillion naira to 7.40 trillion naira, representing 4.01% of gross domestic product. The letter is also received in the House of Representatives, and President Buhari is seeking the cooperation of the National Assembly for expeditious action on the 2022 Appropriation Amendment proposal. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited, has directed all its outlets to begin a 24-hour operation to address the fuel scarcity across the country. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the NNPC Group Executive Director, Downstream, Mr. Adetunji Adeyemi, explains that the company has over 1 billion litres in stock and about 2.3 billion litres of petrol is expected in the country by the end of the month. He adds that the retail outlets of major oil marketers have also commenced a 24-hour service to ensure that more motorists are attended to daily.
To address the situation, over 2.3 billion litres will arrive the country between now and end of February 2022. This will restore sufficiency level above the national target of 30 days. As of today, NNPC has over 1 billion litres of petrol in stock, and the petrol being dispensed at the various filling stations in the country is safe. In order to accelerate PMS distribution across the country, NNPC Limited has commenced 24 hours operations at its depots and retail outlets nationwide. Similarly, major oil marketers outside of Nigeria, Moman, and Dapman and Ipman members have commenced 24 hours loading and dispensing activities in some of their designated outlets across the country. Furthermore, NNPC has constituted a monitoring team with the support of the authority and other security agencies to ensure smooth distribution of petrol nationwide.
More on the fuel situation being experienced in the country, especially in Lagos and in neighboring states. Things are yet to normalize as many filling stations remain under lock and key, while long queues are seen in others which have the product. Our correspondent Olu Phillips tells us more.
It's not yet uhuru as far as the disruption to petrol supply, which surfaced more prominently last week, is concerned. For petrol stations at various locations in Lagos, more stations appear to have received supplies in the last 24 hours. How rapidly that translates into a free flow of sales and purchase remains the concern. Although we see cars on queues waiting to buy the product, they tell us it's not a distressing wait.
I hear the cause of this scarcity was because of some adulterated fuel, right? So I know the ones that are in now are the good ones, and I don't think we are going to queue for a long time. I've been here now and I'm almost close to the gate, so well, it's hopeful. I hope by next week, in 2 weeks' time, or by the end of the week, everything should be resolved.
Ogun State shares proximity to Lagos, and from what our cameras can see, the queues are yet to thin out, but sales is ongoing. While some filling stations sell the product, others remain under lock and key, prompting residents to appeal to federal government to raise an enforcement team to compel those stations who have the product but fail to sell.
Among all the filling stations, I think this one, I don't know if I can mention their name, Fat Beams, they are still doing well. Others have been short, but this one, if you can endure the queue, you still have hope of getting fuel.
The Southeast appears to have a clean bill of health and appears completely insulated from the worries of fuel queues. A trip round Owerri shows that there is no fuel scarcity, no queues, and no panic buying. Amidst the rising tension over fuel scarcity and adulteration, The situation in Awka, the Anambra State capital, is not in any way tensed, though the major highway is a bit deserted, occasioned by the disturbing Monday sit-at-home. Several filling stations are operational. The same situation is prevalent in Edo State. A trip round Benin City, Edo State capital, does not indicate that there is scarcity of petrol, as there are no signs of long queues. It's not so cheering news from Plateau State and Kano State. Petrol queues are seen dominantly at stations visited.
I came here around 8 o'clock, and now I'm on the line now. So up till now, you see, what is the problem with the issue of fuel? We don't know. The government should try to improve, and this is mega station, one of the biggest. If you go to Bauchi Road, people have been lining up, no fuel, at Safa filling station. So now we don't know what is the problem.
Latest updates by authorities indicate that more petrol-laden vessels are still arriving and berthing at the Lagos waters. If the tonnages they carry are anything to go by, then motorists across affected parts of the country may be able to put these experiences behind them. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
It's been a rather busy day for the president today. He hosted governors of Imo and Kogi states at the presidential villa. After the meeting, Governor Hope Uzodimma told State House correspondents that the February 26th date for the National Convention of the All Progressives Congress is not sacrosanct and can be moved if the party deems it fit. On his part, Governor Yahaya Bello explained why zoning the presidency to the central by APC is the right thing to do. Our State House correspondent, Gloria Mezuke, has more.
A few hours before the president was billed to travel for the EU-AU summit in Brussels, he received a number of visitors, including state governors, not less than 6 of them, including Plateau, Kaduna and Cross River states, who visited him, albeit privately. Meeting also with the president in his office is Governor Hope Uzodimma of Imo State. The governor elected to focus on insecurity, ways to sustain the fight against banditry, as well as issues of climate change. In a chat moments after, the governor is confident that the APC convention, which is officially less than 2 weeks away, will hold, but at the same time does not relinquish the idea that it might not.
The discretion on how and when to do their convention should be an internal party affair. And the APC is the one wearing the shoe. With a credible leadership, they knows when to move and when not to move. And there is nothing wrong, even if it doesn't hold. What is important is that we must have our convention. We have said it's 26th. If for anything, for any reason, tomorrow is not doable in the opinion of the party, we will move. But that does not mean that there is any intention to move.
Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State, who is a potential presidential aspirant, also met with the president in his office. Although he fails to reveal if he has officially apprised the president of his ambitions, he states clearly in a chat with State House correspondents that it is only most logical that the presidency is zoned to the North Central.
Coming from the angle of North and South divide, then let us be very fair and equitable. Then you look into the number of years North have held this position and the number of years South have held this position. If you add 8 years to what South has had, and then looking at the North, then you know that there's injustice.
The president had earlier received the deputy president of the Senate and deputy speaker of the House of Representatives. On the same day, he transmitted a letter containing the 2022 appropriation amendment proposal to the National Assembly. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
After his engagements with the lawmakers today, the president departed Abuja to join European and other African leaders as well as heads of multilateral organizations at the 6th European Union-Africa Union Summit in Brussels, Belgium. The summit, which holds from February 17th to the 18th, 2022, will have the participants deliberate on issues currently affecting the world. Areas of interest by the leaders include financing for sustainable and inclusive growth, climate change and energy transition, digital and transport, amongst others. According to a statement by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, the president will use the opportunity to meet with opportunity of the meeting, to have other bilateral engagements. He is accompanied by some federal cabinet members and is expected back in the country on Saturday. In part two, after the break, mixed compliance trails directive by the National Executive Council of the Academic Staff Union of Universities on its one-month strike action. That's in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. The president is off to Brussels for the AU-EU summit after seeking approval of 2.557 trillion naira for fuel subsidy. House of Representatives summons the SGF fathers for failing to honor earlier invitation by the lawmakers. Police headquarters assures Nigerians it will not interfere in DCP Abakiari investigation by the NDLEA. And President Vladimir Putin says Russia does not want war in Europe, but his security concerns must be addressed and taken seriously. We're back with the lawmakers as the Joint House of Representatives Committee on Anti-Corruption and Public Service Matters is summoning top government officials as well as heads of MDAs for failing to honor its invitation to an investigative hearing. The Joint Committee is furious that none of the heads of the agencies was present at an investigative hearing on allegation of high-level corruption on nominal roles of MDAs. Deputy Chairman of the Committee on Anti-Corruption, Dachung Bagos, says the committee will not hesitate to issue a warrant of arrest if they fail to heed the summons.
We cannot appeal to any agency. Any invitation to any agency, it's a summon. So even from today henceforth, it's a summon, and we are summoning them. We are not appealing to any agency. Just like the chairman have said, if they don't come, we will do the right thing of putting up a warrant of arrest. So we are summoning them. We are not appealing to them. So please don't misdirect or go and misquote that the House is appealing. That no, we are summoning them, and it stands. Our invitation stands as a summon.
As we mix compliance with the directive by the National Executive Council of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, asking members to commence a one-month warning strike across the country. 2 days into the action, while some of the chapters of the union have fully complied with the directive, many of them are either not complying or still consulting with their members on the issue. Channels Television correspondents monitored the situation.
Therefore, resolved to embark on a 4-week rollover total and comprehensive strike beginning from Monday, 14th February 2022.
The decision to down tools was painstaking, according to the national president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities.
For the union makes us strong.
It was the only option left to prevail on the federal government to implement the agreements reached by both parties in 2020. The University of Lagos chapter has since activated its members on this decision. In response to the call, lecturers have stopped attending to their primary responsibility of teaching.
I feel bad actually, seeing that we'll be going home for a month or so.
The situation is quite the opposite at the Lagos State University. The premises is busy with academic and non-academic activities. As usual, students move from one end to the other to catch up with their lecture schedules.
The strike is not affecting Lagos University. The activities in Lagos University are okay and calm. We are still going to receive more lectures according to the timetable. More lecturers are still coming. But after this, we'll be having ECHO and other lectures according to the timetable today. So there's no strike going on.
It appears the strike is not domesticated here. The lecturer's decision not to join is further explained by the chapter chairman of ASUU, Professor Ibrahim Buhari.
We actually, had some frictions, with the national body that landed, in court. So right now we are not with, the strike action.
The University of Benin is on the same page as the ASUU national body. After a local congress, the Uniben chapter of the Academic Staff Union decides to join the action.
And so this time we are saying that not only even signing that document, until they sign and implement that document, we will not return to work.
Though cameras are not allowed into the premises of the University of Abuja, the entry is bereft of the usual flow of students, indicating that academic activities may have been halted.
Today we are here in school now, no so lectures. Now, many people who have traveled, who are here, some of them that are in the hostel, like might have to start going back home. It's really frustrating the way everything is going on.
Lecturers at the Taraba State University are yet to join in the strike. Although lectures have been going on, some students are apprehensive about the consequences should it take effect.
I believe that if this thing will continue, it will affect my education and it will affect my calendar.
Meanwhile, former Labour leader and Director General of Michael Imodu Institute for Labour Studies, Isaremu, is asking ASUU and the federal government to find a common ground to resolve their differences and avoid a total collapse of the education system.
All the parties should look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture in the case of what do you call it now? The university is the students, and in this case, students of the poor.
The 4-week warning strike is still in its early stage. The decision of ASUU is likely to attract more mixed reactions and appeals in the coming days, with more disruptions in the academic calendar. It is expected a truce will be reached as talks resume on the conflicting issues.
Linda Kigbe joins us now with more stories from Abuja, beginning with a warning by the federal government to resident doctors. Linda?
Hello, Amarachi. Now, on the warning by the federal doctors, these newly inducted doctors have been warned not to join the National Union of Resident Doctors whenever they declare strike in the health sector. Now, this is coming from the Registrar of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, Dr. Tajuddin Sanusi, as 357 doctors and dentists are inducted to practice medicine in Nigeria. During the event in Abuja, the Minister of Health, Dr. Osagie Hanire, has expressed satisfaction with the number of inductees.
I, Dr. 357 foreign-trained medical and dental graduates are inducted by the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria to practice medicine in the country.
Thank God. You are welcome to the profession.
The induction of these young doctors no doubt adds to the country's health workforce, which has drastically depleted in recent times owing to a massive exodus of medical doctors from the country. According to the Nigeria Medical Association, about 2,000 medical practitioners leave Nigeria for greener pastures on a yearly basis, with the United Kingdom hosting over 5,000 Nigerian-trained doctors in their facilities. Little wonder the government is pleased as these inductees are added to the country's health workforce.
The Federal Ministry of Health is very pleased that we have this number of doctors and dentists that will be enlisted into the health workforce of this country. This will contribute greatly to our collective desire to improve the quality of service in our hospitals.
However, the Registrar of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria warns the new inductees against joining industrial actions while in their housemanship.
As house officers, I need to remind you here, you are not members of ARD. Under no condition must you follow if they call for a strike. As part of our mandate as doctors, we do no harm to anybody, and you don't endanger anybody's health.
The doctors are also counseled on the needs to adhere to the ethics of the profession.
Adhere to the principle of medicine. One major principle of medicine that covers everything is you should not do harm.
Medicine is a calling and it's not politics. And in medical practice, we must conform to the rules.
Having been inducted, These medical practitioners, comprising 341 medical doctors and 16 dentists who were trained outside the country, can now practice the medical profession in Nigeria.
Two legal matters. Justice Inyangeku of the Federal High Court has fixed March 25th for judgment in the $418 million Paris Club debt suit filed by the 36 state governments against the federal government. The trial judge fixed the date after counsel to both sides adopted their processes. The court had on November the 5th last year restrained the federal government from deducting monies accruing to the 36 states from the federation account to settle $418 million judgment debt in relation to the Paris Club refund pending the determination of the substantive suit. The court gave the order following an ex parte motion moved by the counsel to the plaintiffs and senior advocate Jibrin Okutekpa. The relief sought by the state governments include an order of interim injunction restraining the federal government from deducting any money accruing or due to all or any of the 36 states of the federation. Mr. Okutekpa had hinted that the deduction was expected to begin in November 2021. He argued that if allowed, no state would be able to pay workers' salaries. He added that the states were not party to any contract resulting in such debts. As part of its steps to combat fraud and inefficiency, the civil society organization Budget is recommending open contracting for constituency projects. This is contained in the 2021 Tracker report, which was launched in Abuja. Tracker is a platform to enable citizens follow up on budgetary capital expenditure and constituency projects.
This is a citizens' engagement session as civil society organization Budget aims to stimulate open data, especially in local communities. The report, which covers between January 2020 and June 2021, documents the findings from over 1,000 government projects tracked across 32 states in Nigeria. According to the report, 21 projects have been abandoned, 288 are yet to commence, and 111 projects are still ongoing. 662 projects have been completed. The document provides an opportunity for the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, to collaborate with the organization in the effort to ensure accountability in public finance.
Budget has also shared relevant information and data concerning abandoned projects to the Commission for necessary action, and Commission has taken it up to investigate or to track those projects.
When Tracker and other organizations go to hospitals, go to a clinic, and say, okay, this clinic is supposed to have a bed, a medical doctor, a medication is there. What is essentially Tracker is asking is, should any woman die because there is no magnesium sulfate in this place? So it's about saving lives. It's about ensuring that ordinary lives are being saved.
During a panel discussion, one issue that came forward is the attitude of lawmakers towards constituency projects, which has made it difficult to achieve its purpose.
No matter how the ICPC and the budget, IT and other organizations try to monitor such things, it's going to be very difficult. Because if I can arrange 1,000 people here, or 2,000, and share to them all those things for the TV, the camera, and for a record. And when you are gone, I will tell them to return it back and I will give them 2,000 naira.
Jail Tracker reports for January 2022.
Budget wants the federal government to assign the projects to the appropriate ministries and agencies who have the mandate to oversee them.
To health issues. Malaria outbreaks are expected to reach epidemic status in all central and southern states, as well as parts of Kebbi and Kaduna states in the northwest in May 2022, while meningitis will reach the same epidemic status in most parts of northern Nigeria in February and March 2022. Now, these findings are part of the details found in the latest 2022 seasonal climate prediction launched today in Abuja. Our correspondent Kayla Megwa reports.
Every year, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency releases the year's seasonal climate prediction, and according to the agency's Director General, this is done early in the year to ensure socioeconomic activities that could be adversely affected by the weather are properly planned for.
It has also helped increase and improve the level of preparedness by emergency management agencies such as NEMA, SEMAS, and a lot of LEMAs at the grassroots level. We also complement flood prediction by Nigerian Hydrological Agency, our sister agency in the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, and serve also as an advisory tool for many stakeholders at the federal, state, and local government levels.
The agency is launching an app that gives Nigerians instant information on weather predictions at any given location. According to the report, planting season for farmers should begin on the 28th of February in coastal parts of the country, while onset rainfall is expected between April and May in central states and June and July in northern states. Growing season should last between 250 and 300 days in southern Nigeria and 100 to 200 days in the north. Malaria is likely to be widespread in Nigeria between January and April, reaching possible epidemic status in southern states, central states, and southern parts of the northwestern states of Kaduna and Kebbi. Meningitis outbreaks reaching epidemic levels are expected in February and March in most northern states in the country. The Minister of Aviation, Mr. Hadi Sirika, while delivering the forecast, urged relevant agencies to ensure adequate measures are put in place to avert disasters that could be caused by these predictions.
I encourage all of us to adopt these documents as part of our planning and decision processes to achieve climate-smart society and weather-wise populace that will collectively facilitate the relaunching of our economy on the path of full recovery.
It is one thing to make predictions and another thing for the relevant agencies to make decisions that will avert the disasters that come from the non-implementation of these particular predictions. Government agencies and private sector stakeholders are being urged at this event to make relevant decisions in line with the predictions here to avert these disasters in 2022. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
In other stories, 6 persons have been reportedly killed, with several others injured in 3 different attacks after suspected Islamic State of West African province ISWAP planted improvised explosive devices on Gambarun Ngala Road in Ngala Local Government Council in Borno State. A humanitarian worker who spoke to Channels Television on condition of anonymity says the first incident involved a commercial vehicle in which 3 persons died on the spot. Another IED killed 2 members of a local vigilantes who arrived at the scene to offer assistance to the injured victims. Channels Television also gathered that another member of a civilian joint task force patrolling the Maiduguri-Gambarun Ngala Federal Highway was also shot dead, while 1 other was injured. Governor Babagada Zulum reopened the federal highway last week after 3 years of shutdown. And that's all from Abuja. Back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Linda. For 2 days now, the father of Darwin College student Sylvanus Romani Sr. has been testifying at the coroner's inquest about the circumstances surrounding his son's controversial death. While answering questions today under cross-examination from Mr. Akin George, counsel to the Lagos State government, Mr. Romani claimed that there is a massive cover-up in the investigations to unravel the cause of death. He explained that a magistrate's court in Yaba remanded 5 students of Darwin College for 21 days, but after 14 days, the boys were granted bail when the police were not done with their investigations. Meanwhile, the coroner has condemned some social media reports of the proceedings and reiterated his determination to unravel what actually transpired in the case. Meanwhile, the Nigeria police has been making clarifications on the arrest and ongoing investigation of the suspended DCP Abba Kyari on his alleged involvement in a drug deal. A police headquarters today said it will not interfere in the process concerning Abba Kyari because he has been suspended from the Nigerian police. Acting Force PRO CSP Muyiwa Adejobi told Channels Television that the police force cannot account for any illicit deal undertaken by a suspended officer, but for the serving officers being investigated, the police expect a feedback from the NDLEA. The police had handed over Mr. Kyari and 4 others to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency hours after he was declared wanted by the NDLEA. They're accused of tampering with narcotic exhibits, official corruption, and sundry unprofessional infractions. Well, staying with crime and criminality, the family of the 19-month-old baby boy Obinna Udeze, who died after being flogged by his teacher, is seeking justice over the death of their son. The Delta State government and the police force say they will leave no stone unturned to ensure that that is served.
The story of the death of 19-month-old Obinna Udeze is one very emotional. It is a disturbing story of a toddler who died after an alleged flogging in school by his daycare teacher and son of the proprietress at the Horizon Shine School in Asaba, Delta State. As soon as the news broke, the Delta State government swung into action and ordered the sealing up of the school premises. The State Commissioner for Basic Education, Mr. Chika Osai, visits the school where the incident happened. Shattered windows and littered wires are clear evidence that some angry persons may have invaded the building.
We just want to make sure that the environment is calm. At the same time, we're also looking at alternative where we can send the children to. One of the private schools has also volunteer that is going to take care of those children for this term.
At the home of the late Obinna, his heartbroken mother and grandmother struggle as they emotionally narrate what happened.
But what did he spoil? Who did he kill? He did not kill somebody, he did not spoil anything, he did not do anything. You just started flogging him.
She told him, Grandma, I said, he said, Obinna, auntie, uncle, with big mommy, tied Obinna's leg and his 2 hands. They were flogging Obinna like a goat. Obinna was shouting, crying, Mommy. God!
The government delegate also pays a visit to the State Force headquarters to register the state government's position on the matter.
As a state government, we are very much interested in this matter, not only because it brings negative publicity, but because as a government we care for the life of any person who lives in Delta, whether you are a Deltan or not.
What is left now is for police to open up full-blown investigation. And that is what we are doing precisely. Post-mortem examination will be carried out to ascertain, of course, the medical cause of death.
The accused person admits to flogging the child, but believes the flogging was not the cause of his death.
I did not cane the child to get dead. I cane him like I supposed to flog a child. I flog him as little as I can. I did not kill the child. The child was not killed by my hand. It was not killed by my hand. Men and guys, check this thing very well. It was not killed by my hand.
Why did you flog the child?
He pushed another child down. He pushed another child down. He hit his head.
A bright future cut short. A mother forever separated from her only child. Perhaps the only closure she needs now is justice for her son.
That's completely heartbreaking. With the right motivation, though, and inspiration, there is so much West African youths can achieve with their talents. That's according to the Managing Director of Cadbury in West Africa, Mrs. Yimika Adeboye. She was speaking during the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding with Cadbury TomTom brand ambassador Mani Laposh in Lagos.
Already thinking like an ambassador. I like that. So that should be here, right? Yes.
Pen on paper, signifying the beginning of a relationship meant to primarily benefit young persons across West Africa. It's between Mondelez, the parent company and owner of the TomTom brand, and Manila Push, an artist. For the company, this partnership is strategic.
65% of our population now in Nigeria is that generation. And the way we're multiplying population-wise, in another 4 or 5 years, we'll probably find 70-75% of the population is under 25. So we need to have products, brands that this generation loves and would use.
Mondelez is launching a new campaign, Breathe for It, with the primary aim of providing motivation, inspiration for the youth.
Look within, take a deep breath, a deep TomTom breath. Find the clarity that comes from within, and then breathe for it. Breathe for it means breathe for your dreams, breathe for your goals, breathe for the things that keep you awake at night, breathe for your talents, those things inborn that nobody can take away but will come within and cause you to shine.
The company wants our consumers to connect to this campaign by TomTom and its other products.
We're expecting more consumers, we're expecting more consumers to connect with this brand. We're expecting more consumers to connect with other brands of ours, but TomTom being our flagship brand, being our biggest brand, we feel is the foundation for what we want to do. TomTom, one, is a functional candy. People take TomTom for various reasons. It's not just, some people take it for indulgence, some people take it for clearing their throat, hence our campaign, Breathe for It.
This relationship is one both parties expect to inspire and motivate young minds and talents on the continental sub-region.
We've been preaching this for the longest time. Never ever give up yourself, your talent, whatever you do. Never ever give up. Stay motivated. Keep pushing. We've always had down times in our lives, but it doesn't define your future.
The brand ambassador was selected from a competition where bids were said to be in thousands. He is settled in already with plans to take the partnership to high realms.
Carolina, be asking me how they make all these people they book out for Carolina. They feeling the way they make all these people they go Saselema.
Also going to more business news now. Here's Tenyola Shibawali.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Amarachi. Welcome to Business News. The federal government, in partnership with the European Union and the United Nations Development Programme, has launched the Jubilee Fellows Fund aimed at curbing the high rate of youth unemployment across the country. The initiative provides an opportunity for various stakeholders to contribute funds for the implementation of the Nigeria government's Jubilee Fellows Programme, which seeks to place 20,000 young Nigerians with one-year paid jobs annually. Meanwhile, 44 million euros has been earmarked for the program, which will be managed by the UNDP on behalf of the partners. And one of Nigeria's foremost financial institutions, Stanbic IBTC Holdings, has held a webinar on Nigeria's economy with the theme 2022 Virtual Economic Outlook, Investing and Planning in an Election Cycle. The event, which is aimed at reflecting on economic trends that shaped 2021 and projecting into 2022, affords participants the opportunity to learn directly from economic experts on the importance of planning and investment.
I'll call on Demola Shibule, the Chief Executive of Stanbic IBTC Holdings.
Senior management and board members of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, a member of the Standard Bank Group, have been discussing on the issues of investment planning in an election cycle as it hosts the Economic Outlook for 2022. The Chief Executive of Stanbic IBTC Holdings, Mr. Demola Shogunle, sets the tone for the webinar by appreciating its customers for the confidence and trust placed on the financial institution through their patronage. The keynote speaker, renowned economist and Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Romani, believes that the points of considerations should start from assessing economic realities and drivers of the macroeconomy.
GDP growth will be slow but remain positive.
the political situation will remain on close watch. New taxes will come in, but will be taken in slow doses. Headline inflation will maintain an upward trend for a long time before coming down. CBN will adopt unorthodox, but will come back to orthodox monetary policy.
Taking the discussion from the forecast on the macroeconomy, two top executives of the bank give their perspective for investment options which individuals can explore to maximize opportunities in the economy at this time.
So it's also an opportune time for you to evaluate your portfolio, especially where you have maturing instruments in that portfolio. The third thing we see is around partnerships. And for us at Stanbic IBTC, it's very clear to us that partnerships are the future, and indeed that future is now.
We have diverse product offerings. I think the most critical in this point in time will be around our advisory businesses, because we see quite a lot of corporates looking at the next level and the next step on how to grow. So our advisory businesses, just in terms of business combinations, your business structuring, and the opportunities that are prevalent in the environment, we are very happy to bring those to bear on your businesses.
The webinar also gave participants the opportunity to learn about several products and investment options that Stanbic Bank offers, despite the likely headwinds as the nation prepares for its general elections next year. Nigeria's stock market closed flat in today's trading session amid profit taken by investors. John Mekwa has the details.
Well, thank you so much. Welcome to the stock market report. The market seems to be in between today, but it managed to gain a little over 1 billion naira at the close of trading. The all-share index almost unchanged from yesterday, but the bull managed to push through. Banking in the red again today, shedding over 1%. Access Bank lost 5 kobo here. Let's look at the oil and gas. It was on the flip side, very different from what it looked like yesterday. Yesterday it lost 0.24%, but today it gained 0.26%. Urando has recovered. It gained 6 kobo. But Eternal Oil was even more favored. At the close of trading, its share price gained 24 kobo to close at 5.69 kobo. Consumer goods went from being in the red yesterday to being in the green today, even though it's very marginal. And even Guinness still lost today, 1.55 kobo from its share price, taken off to close at 65 naira. The activity chart is complete opposite of what it looked like yesterday. Deals, volume, value, all in the red. What a day. But the week is still young. Let's see what other days have. That's a stock market report. I'm John Mekwa.
Thanks a lot, Ini. Let's check out the closing numbers for other major markets around the world. And that's business news tonight. It's back to Amarachi for the rest of the news at 10.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Teniola. U.S. President Joe Biden has warned Russia the U.S. will not fail to respond if Russia targets American citizens in Ukraine or if Russia invades Ukraine. The warning came in a press briefing this evening, hours after President Vladimir Putin once again said Russia does not want war in Europe and that he is ready to work further with the West on security, but that his security concerns must be addressed and taken seriously. Made the comments after the military said troops had withdrawn or were withdrawing from the border near Ukraine, the first sign from Moscow of a possible de-escalation of tensions. NATO, however, says it's yet to see the de-escalation, but signals Moscow, signals from Moscow give cause for optimism. Samuel Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Ukraine's foreign minister says they will believe Russia's withdrawal of troops when they see it. Dmitry Kuleba made the comments following reports that some Russian troops were returning to base. A Russian Defense Ministry spokesman confirmed that some forces positioned on the border were returning to their bases after completing drills, raising hopes that tensions could ease. However, large-scale military exercises continue. Talks between Vladimir Putin and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz were held earlier in Moscow, the latest meeting in weeks of diplomatic efforts to defuse tensions.
We're entering the third week of illegal blockades that have been disrupting the lives of too many Canadians.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has taken the unprecedented step of invoking the Emergencies Act to crack down on anti-vaccine mandate protests. The Freedom Convoy protests, started by Canadian truckers opposing a COVID-19 vaccine or quarantine mandate for cross-border drivers, have drawn people opposed to Trudeau's policies on everything from pandemic restrictions to a carbon tax. Mr. Trudeau said the scope of the measures would be time-limited, but from now, with no need for a court order, banks will be able to freeze personal accounts of anyone linked with the protests. Russian figure skater Kamila Valieva has argued her positive drugs test was due to contamination with her granddad's medicine. The skater made the argument at a hearing with the Court of Arbitration for Sport into whether she should be allowed to continue competing in the Beijing Olympics. The 15-year-old skater was cleared by the Court of Arbitration for Sport to compete in today's evening singles event after a panel agreed with the Russian anti-doping agency's decision to lift a ban on her.
You must understand that it would be very difficult to allocate medals based on a situation which is not final. It's why we decided it's wiser, until we don't have clarity on the case, not to attribute medal.
South Korea's presidential candidates have formally begun campaigning in what is expected to be the tightest race in 20 years. 14 candidates have signed up since official resignation opened on Sunday, with Lee Jae-myung, the flag-bearer of the ruling Democratic Party, facing off against Yoon Suk-yeol from the Conservative main opposition party. Opinion polls suggest voters are looking for a president who can address polarized politics and tackle corruption, as well as deal with soaring house prices and deepening inequality. For now, polls also show Yoon as the favored candidate. Police in the Honduran capital have surrounded the house of the ex-president Juan Orlando Hernandez after the United States requested his extradition on drug charges. According to the Honduran security minister, Mr. Hernandez was inside his home at the time. Police had been told to surround it to prevent an escape while they waited for an arrest warrant to be issued. The country has for years been a key transit country for drugs smuggled from South America to the United States. However, Hernandez has always maintained that he did everything in his power to fight drug trafficking, enjoying the support of the US government under Donald Trump's administration. And finally, the house of South Africa's iconic leader Nelson Mandela has now been transformed into a luxury hotel. The property has 9 rooms that can accommodate a total of 18 guests. Images show rooms covered in memorabilia paying tribute to Mandela. The design of the hotel is a blend of South Africa's rich history while still maintaining a modern and glamorous look and feel. In this house, Mandela lived between 1992 and 1998. It was designed to be a space of reflection and tranquility for him and his guests. It is also where he hosted the likes of Bill Clinton and supermodel Naomi Campbell. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to Channel Studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Time now for the Sports News Nigeria senior women's basketball team, the D Tigers, are to receive a cash reward of 25 million naira from the federal government for winning the 2020 Afro Basketball Championship in Cameroon. Well, after the victory, the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Derrick, recommended that a token of appreciation be given to the African queens of the courts for doing the nation proud, a request that has now received the approval of President Muhammadu Buhari. Meanwhile, the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Mr. Sunday Dare, has received the 20th National Sports Festival report from the local organizing committee in Abuja earlier today. The LOC was led by the Chairman and Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, who thanked the federal government for the opportunity to host the country's biggest multi-sports event. In the UEFA Champions League, Paris Saint-Germain defeated 13-time European champions Real Madrid in the round of 16 after Lionel Messi missed a spot kick in the 62nd minute for the Parisians. Well, Kylian Mbappe got the goal for PSG late on in the game to seal the win. Well, last season runner-up Manchester City went on a 5-goals rout as they defeated Sporting Lisbon and are 1 foot away in the quarter-final stage. And that sports news is back to you, Marachi.
Thanks, Ayatunde. And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari today left for Brussels in Belgium to join European and other African leaders, as well as heads of multilateral organizations for the 6th edition of the AU-EU Summit, after he sought for approval of 2.557 trillion naira for fuel subsidy from the National Assembly. Also today, the police headquarters assured Nigerians it would not interfere in DCP Abba Kyari's investigation by the NDLEA. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani. From all of us here, good night.